Welcome back to Literature Guide. Today's video is about John Dryden and the heroic couplet in tragedy. In this video, you will get information about John Dryden's views on the heroic couplet and the blank verse. In his essay of Dramatic Poesy, John Dryden has raised objection against the use of heroic couplet in drama so that he can answer them. He has discussed the merits of the heroic couplet in tragedy and its limitations also. According to John Dryden, the success of any work of art depends on the dexterous use of any stanza form by the literary artist. If a bad poet handles any stanza form, the result will be bad. Had Shakespeare used heroic couplet in dramas, he would have handled heroic couplet in a very skillful fashion. Here in this essay of Dramatic Poesy, John Dryden has also compared the merits of English and French drama. John Dryden states that search for rhyme in heroic couplet is difficult. So also measuring of syllables is difficult in blank verse. I have tried my level best to cater useful information through this video. I have recently published 3 videos on S.T. Coleridge's concept of fancy and imagination, I.A. Richards' 4 kinds of meaning, and T.S. Eliot on the metaphysical poets. If you really like the content produced by this channel, do like and subscribe Literature Guide. If you want to get more information on this topic, you can visit a website. The link of the website is there on the screen. I don't want to waste your time. Let's dive into a video and enjoy the video.
John Dryden and the heroic couplet in tragedy. In an essay of dramatic poesy, John Dryden handled a very important problem of his age. Actually, he raises the objections against the use of heroic couplet in drama, so that he can answer them. But here John Dryden comes out as a critic of liberal and Catholic outlook. He also reveals his understanding of the spirit and the needs of different periods. He starts his discussion by confessing that his own plays, where heroic couplet was employed, were not perfect. Secondly, he excludes comedy from the discussion. Thirdly, he says, I deny not but blank verse may be used. It is very clear that John Dryden is not a fanatic, hence he says that blank verse is equally and naturally effective in a tragedy. He adds, rhyme is there as natural and more effectual than blank verse. John Dryden's first argument is that the whole problem depends on the dramatist's handling of the form, maybe blank verse or heroic couplet. He says that the arguments of critics against rhyme are true even against blank verse. If a bad poet employs any form of it is bad, maybe blank verse or heroic couplet. Similarly, a great poet can make any form effective and natural. So if an election of apt words and right disposition of them are observed, any form can be used anywhere. It is not that blank verse or heroic couplet is unfit in tragedy. It is a bad use of any form that makes it unfit. Suppose Shakespeare employs heroic couplet, then naturally he makes it very graceful. Similarly, Beaumont and Fletcher and even Keats employ heroic couplet with great ease and grace. So, it lies in the use of an artist and not in the form itself. Secondly, John Dryden explains the limitations of heroic couplet in a tragedy and how to overcome them. The heroic couplet appears unnatural in a dialogue. The first line has to be composed only after finalizing the rhyming words in the second line. Similarly, the dialogue ends in the middle of the sentences and then the other speaker has to continue the line and rhyme. This also seems unnatural. Thirdly, the movement of heroic couplet is tedious with that staccato music. Fourthly, the meaning comes to an end of every distich. This forcible contemplation of meaning at the end of distich makes couplet very monotonous, and even unnatural in a tragedy. Lastly, the traditional pause in the line of heroic couplet usually comes at the end of the third foot. If this is correctly followed, then the continuous reading of a lengthy passage would make the reader completely bored. For all these limitations of heroic couplet, John Dryden provides suitable solutions. Dryden's answer is clear. He says variety of cadence is the last rule, the greater help to the actors and the refreshment to the audience. A poet can effect variations by many methods. First of all, by changing the position of pause, as in the following lines. A third interprets motions, looks and eyes, at every word a reputation dies. Secondly, a poet can introduce enjambment, and allow the meaning to follow into the next lines. Achitophel still wants a chief and none was found as was like Absalom. Thirdly, a poet may break the hemistiche. Lastly, a poet can employ triplets also. In the same way, the dialogue may be finished in the middle of a line, and next speaker may ignore it and start a fresh line. Actually, John Dryden's plays are perfect examples for all these variations. Sometimes, the passages written in heroic couplet move as speedily and rapidly as blank verse. If all these devices are observed, even the heroic couplet comes nearest to the speaking language. John Dryden argues if rhyme is unnatural in drama, blank verse is also equally unnatural. According to Dryden, as the search for the rhyme is difficult in a couplet, so also the measuring of syllables in blank verse. In this context, John Dryden speaks of two more qualities that are essential for the success of any form. If tragedy represents lofty emotions and passions, it also must employ a lofty medium which is far from our daily use because daily speech fails to express lofty emotions. Blank verse, which is very nearer to the daily speech, may not be naturally fit to express tragic emotion. Secondly, blank verse may lead to uncontrolled passion and imagination without any sense of propriety and judgment. But in heroic couplet, the wild passion can be controlled due to its rigid rules. This is a matter of opinion and attitude. Lastly, John Dryden pleads that naturalness and success of any form is decided by the age itself. Keats said that Shakespeare and Fletcher were great dramatists. They wrote in blank verse, and so blank verse was better than couplet. John Dryden condemns this argument. He says that every age has its own genius. Blank verse is suited to the imaginative sense and the passionate nature of the Elizabethan age, but it does not suit to the critical and reasoning nature of the Restoration period. So heroic couplet is more natural and better suited to it. It is the genius of that age. Again, John Dryden states that the Restoration public admired the use of couplet in tragedy. So it shows that the taste of the public also had changed. In the end, Dryden confessed the truth that the Elizabethans had exhausted the resources of blank verse. In the hands of John Milton, blank verse poured out all its melody, art and variety. It is the secret instinct of human nature to like change. John Dryden says, "We acknowledge our fathers in wits, but they have ruined their estates themselves before they came to their children's hands. So, there is no wonder if their sons go for different estates."
How is the video? I hope you liked the video. I have already produced many videos on English poetry, prose, criticism and drama. You can watch all these videos on this channel, Literature Guide. If you really like the content produced by this channel, do like and subscribe Literature Guide. If you have any suggestions, you can put your comment in the comment box below. If you want to get more information on literary topics, you can visit a website. The link of the website is there on the screen. I will meet you soon with a new and fresh topic of English literature. Meet you.
Please subscribe Literature Guide.